So I was recently in the Pyrenees, and I recorded some audio of a mountain stream. I've loaded that sample onto the Texture Lab. It sounds like this. So just a basic nature sound, nothing that special about it. Now, in a lot of my other videos, I've taken a melodic sample, and I've shown you how if you turn the granular blend all the way to the granular side, you can start messing around with the speed of the sample playback without affecting the pitch. And this can lead to some cool effects once you start manipulating the sample in other ways. However, if we go back to that nature sound, listen to what happens if we change the speed on that. So there's two things going on here. First is something that's sort of like a phasing or flanger effect. Not sure exactly what to call it. And the second thing is you start to get these kind of weird, spooky harmonic overtones, I guess we could call them, as well. Let me do that again. And as you go slower and that harmonic overtone gets deeper, you also start to get this sort of electronic distortion with the sound. It sounds sort of like an old-fashioned modem or a bit crusher. And the overtone becomes deeper and deeper. But it almost sounds like a distant horn or trumpet playing in like a big empty concert hall or something. And remember, we don't even have the reverb on right now. If we turn the reverb back on, turn the shimmer off, you can really hear that overtone. That's just manipulating this speed. Now, we can also do the same thing with the density. Density is currently at the default maximum value of 63, or the default maximum number of grains from the density parameter. Because remember, with the density, if we go above 63, we're not actually increasing the density of the grains, we're just detuning them. So we're at the maximum number of grains, and if we start going down with the density, we also make that overtone go lower and get deeper. Now we can bring the speed back up, go back down some more with the density. And if I turn off the reverb, so I'm going to put the density back up again. Notice how we can start to hear the water better as the density goes down, or at least I can. So yeah, we start to get some really gnarly tones. Now, another thing we can do here is we can start decreasing the size of the grains. And that'll bring that harmonic overtone back up. And so you can sort of triangulate between these three parameters, between speed, density, and size, to mess around with the depth of that harmonic overtone, and also how much of the water sound is coming through, and how much distortion there is in the noise. Now, these are some kind of harsh sounds we're getting, so something we could do here is put on a filter, try a low pass filter, and bring up the cutoff. And so we can kind of soften it that way. And if we wanted to, we could also put an LFO or modulator on the cutoff. have it modulate back and forth like this automatically. I'm just using my fingers as a modulator here. And then speaking of modulators or LFOs, another thing we can do is we can take one of these parameters, like speed for example. Actually, let me bring the density and size back up to where they were at the beginning. Because I really like the overtones that we get at this point from manipulating the speed parameter. So something we can do is we can modulate between different tones. So I'm going to modulate speed. Let's start with the rate pretty low and just a bit of depth. Okay, now that's the default shape, which is a sine wave. I think I'd prefer to have either a square wave so that we go back and forth between two tones. Let's make it even slower. Let's bring up the cutoff, lower the resolution, bring back in some reverb. Or we could also do this with a step shape. For example, step 5, which is going to fluctuate between 5 different steps of values. And so hopefully we're going to be able to fluctuate between 5 different tones. Like that. Or we could also use the sequencer to record changes in our speed parameter onto different steps and fluctuate between tones that way, and that would give us more precision here. So let's turn the modulator off, and this way if there's a specific tone we really like that one, and let's say that one, and this way when we run the sequencer we'll go between. Anyway, I think you get the idea. Okay, now I'm going to take the reverb back off so we can hear everything more clearly. And let's pick a tone we like here. I don't know, that. Maybe like is the wrong word. I mean, I don't think these are especially beautiful sounds, but they're not meant to be. This is meant to be a noise layer that we would then build other more pleasant sounding things on top of, like some sort of drone or pads, something melodic or atmospheric. And then this would just be happening in the background. Okay, now another thing we can do here is we can take our size start to get kind of a jet engine sound there. Bring it all the way down. Now we have a lot of static white noise going on in the background. And I actually do find that kind of pleasant to listen to. And you can really hear the water again now, which is nice. So again, speed is really going to change the character of it and brings this sort of flanger effect to it. And then density, if we bring that down, oh, everything gets kind of louder. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the length parameter, which is at the maximum value, and I'm going to start turning it down. As it starts to get really low, we start getting this kind of rhythmic sound, which we can mess around with by backing off or by changing the size. Could also randomize the size here. And now if we take the randomization of the size off, back off on the length, and keep going, start to get kind of a fundamental tone going on, which we can mess around with using the speed parameter. We can also change the shape parameter here, and let's turn off the filter for a second so we can really hear this. So you can start to hear what sounds like a really detuned, super lo-fi, like cheap synthesizer toy sound going on here. And if we back off on the blend, over on the dry side of our blend, we have something that's actually tonal in the sense of pitches that are diatonic that fit the Western scale of music. So now we can bring the blend back to introduce more noise into it. And now we can bring back the randomization of our size. And this way we can bring back more or less of our noise. Bring the blend back down a little. And then once again, we can change the character of this by putting on a filter and then bring back in some reverb. High pass filter. Take the filter off. And then one more thing we can do here is we can randomize our position of our sample. So that we go back and forth to different parts of it. Could bring back in our modulator, and this time we could apply it to something else like the length of our sample. Filter back on. Let's try doing a square shape this time. Adjust the speed, adjust the shape, size, density. Bring the reverb back down. Mess around with the filter. yet another thing we could do is we could try change the voice to arpeggio. Turn off that modulator. And eventually get back our tones. Let's change the arpeggiation. Put it on random, put in a bunch of other notes. And back in the reverb, put on some shimmer. Bring back down the shape. Size is at 0. Bring it up a little bit. Back down. Slow this down by changing the note value. Increasing the randomization of the size. Manipulate the filter. Mess around with the shape again. Or actually, let's randomize the shape. Let's try pitching everything down. Or, have another idea. Let's modulate the pitch just a tiny bit. With some tape warble. messing with the randomization of the playback position. Now it's at 0. Anyway, there's a lot more you can do with this. For example, earlier I took the same sample and I just isolated a single noise that I generated through manipulation like we just did. And then what I did was I resampled that so that now I can play that noise chromatically on the keyboard. And I think it has this really cool lo-fi grittiness to it that I really like. Alright, I think that'll do it. So stay tuned to the channel, because in my next video what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can build on something like this and combine a noise layer, a pad layer, a drone layer, and some sort of atmospheric or melodic layer in a way that's similar to what the new Sonicware Ambient 0 encourages you to do. I'll see you there, and goodbye for now.